You've ridden one today, maybe twice. You didn't think about it for a single second. You just stepped on, held the rail, and let it carry you. Like you always do. Like everyone does. Every year, escalators injure over 10,000 people in the US alone, and kill around 30. Now, 30 deaths doesn't sound like a lot. Not compared to cars, not compared to planes. But here's the thing that should bother you. Nobody is actually keeping track. The Consumer Product Safety Commission admits their data is incomplete. Insurance companies bury settlement numbers. And the manufacturers, they've spent decades making sure you never think twice about stepping on one of these things. By the end of this video, you will never look at an escalator the same way again. Because what's been hidden about these machines is far worse than the accidents you already know about. Let's start with what an escalator actually is, because most people have no idea. You think it's a simple moving staircase? You're wrong. An escalator is a machine with over 800 individual moving parts. There are chains, gears, motors, comb plates, step chains, handrail drives, tension carriages, all working in sync, all under constant stress, all hidden underneath your feet inside a metal housing you can never see into. The average escalator travels the equivalent of 4 times around the Earth every year. Think about that. The same machine, the same chain, the same steps. Going around and around, non-stop, for years. Sometimes decades. Now ask yourself, when was the last time you saw someone actually inspect the escalator you were standing on? Not the cleaning crew walking by with a mop. Not the guy who adjusts the speed sometimes. A real, qualified mechanic. Opening it up. Checking the parts. Replacing what's worn. In most cities, escalators are legally required to be inspected once a year. Once. And in many places, inspections are self-reported by the companies that own them, which means the company decides whether their own machine passes. That's not safety. That's paperwork. In 2011, a woman in Washington, D.C. was pulled into a metro escalator and killed. The machine had 70 outstanding maintenance issues that had been flagged and ignored. 70. The inspection report said it was fine. She died because no one actually checked. Here's something the escalator industry doesn't advertise. These machines were not designed with you in mind. The modern escalator was patented in 1897 by Charles Seeberger. The design has barely changed since. The basic mechanics, the step chain, the comb plate, the handrail system, are over 100 years old. We're using 19th century engineering in 21st century buildings that handle more traffic than anyone ever imagined. The busiest escalators in the world move over 100 million people per year. They were designed for a fraction of that. But the design problems go deeper than just volume. Look at the gap between the step and the side panel. That gap, called the skirt gap, is only supposed to be 4 millimeters. 4 millimeters. That's narrower than your pinky finger. Now tell me the last time you saw a construction worker in heavy boots, a woman in a long dress, or a kid in Crocs worry about 4 millimeters. Because that gap is where escalators eat people. Crocs, the foam shoes, are disproportionately involved in escalator accidents worldwide. The material is soft and grippy. It catches. And once a shoe catches in that gap, the machine doesn't stop. It keeps going. It's stronger than you are. It will pull whatever is in that gap right in. In 2009, a 6-year-old boy in Singapore had his foot pulled into an escalator. He lost his toes. In 2015, an escalator in China collapsed mid-ride, swallowing a woman whole. She died. The operator was standing right there, and the emergency stop button, the one safety feature that was supposed to save her, didn't work. The emergency stop button didn't work. That's not a freak accident. That's a pattern. Now here's where it gets interesting. And by interesting, I mean infuriating. The escalator industry, led by companies like Otis, Schindler, and Kohn, generates over $100 billion a year globally. These are not small companies. These are multinational corporations with armies of lawyers and lobbyists. And for decades, they have successfully fought against mandatory real-time safety monitoring, against automatic shutdown systems, against public accident databases, against basically anything that would make it easier for regulators, or you, to know when a machine is dangerous. There is no centralized database of escalator accidents in the United States. None. You can find out how many planes crashed last year down to the exact aircraft registration number. You can find the maintenance history of your car. But escalator accidents? Nobody is required to report them nationally, which means the 10,000 injury figure is almost certainly an undercount. By a lot. Hospitals record escalator injuries under generic categories. Settlements are routinely sealed. And when lawsuits do go public, they reveal a consistent, disturbing pattern. Machines with known faults, operators who ignored warnings, inspectors who signed off without actually inspecting. In case after case, the machine was broken before it hurt someone. And someone knew. In Atlanta, a man lost his leg in 2012 after an escalator malfunction. Court documents showed the management company had received 27 complaints about that specific escalator in the months before the accident. 27 complaints. They did nothing. He settled out of court. The amount was confidential. The escalator was repaired and reopened. Let me walk you through what actually happens when an escalator fails, because most people imagine it just stops. Like an elevator with the doors open. Inconvenient, but harmless. It's nothing like that. When an escalator mechanically fails mid-operation, one of two things usually happens. Either the steps collapse into each other, what engineers call a step reversal, or the drive chain snaps and the escalator begins to move in reverse under the weight of the people on it. And because escalators are designed to prevent reversal, the sudden change creates a violent jolt. If you're standing on an escalator that suddenly reverses direction, you have about 0.3 seconds before the person behind you hits you. If you're near the top, you fall backward down a metal staircase that's still moving. If you're carrying a child or an elderly person, or you're holding shopping bags, your reaction time is even slower. In 2015, a Hong Kong escalator reversed direction, sending dozens of people tumbling. 18 were injured in seconds. And here's the detail that stays with you. In most of these incidents, the emergency stop button was either too far away, unmarked, not functioning, or pressed by a bystander who had to figure out which button it was while people were already falling. In London's Underground, one of the best-maintained metro systems in the world, escalators generate hundreds of service reports per year. Engineers there will tell you privately that the only reason serious accidents are relatively rare is aggressive, expensive maintenance. Not design, not safety systems. Human beings doing checks, constantly, on aging machines. Most places in the world don't do that. Most escalators you ride are not maintained like that. Okay. So what do you actually do with this information? Because I'm not here to make you scared of escalators. I'm here to make you smarter than the person standing next to you on one. First, the middle of the step. Always stand in the middle. The edges near the skirt panels are where the gap is. The further you are from those panels, the safer you are. This applies especially to children and anyone wearing loose clothing or soft-soled shoes. Second, know where the emergency stop button is before you need it. It's usually at the top and bottom of the escalator, near the comb plate. Red button, often behind a small plastic cover. If you see someone fall, or if the escalator jolts abnormally, that button is your first move. Third, if an escalator feels wrong, don't get on it. Vibrating more than usual, making grinding noises, moving unevenly. Your instinct is right. The 3 seconds it takes to find the stairs is worth it. Fourth, the handrail is not just decoration. It moves at a slightly different speed than the steps in many older escalators. If you lean on it and it moves faster than your feet, you can lose your balance. Hold it lightly. Don't lean. And keep your feet away from the edges. Most escalator injuries are preventable. The machine isn't the only problem. Nobody told you where to stand. And finally, if you're ever injured on an escalator, document everything immediately. Take photos of the machine number, the location, the comb plates, the gap. Because the first thing operators do is clean and restart the machine. Evidence disappears fast. We trust escalators because they're everywhere. Because they look smooth and modern and permanent. Because we've ridden them 1,000 times and nothing happened. But familiarity isn't the same as safety. And an industry that has spent decades fighting transparency is not an industry that prioritizes your safety over its bottom line. The machines are older than you think. The maintenance is less rigorous than you've been told. And the data, the real data about how many people are hurt and how often and why, is deliberately kept from you. You didn't know any of this before today. Now you do. If this changed how you see something you thought you knew, share it. Because the person next to you on the escalator tomorrow doesn't know either. Next time, why you should never trust ATMs. What's inside those machines, and who's watching when you use them, is something the banks really don't want you thinking about.